What's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
Let's get into this deep fake thing. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not.
So 60 Minutes is probably my favorite show on television. I've been watching 60 Minutes for years, and it's a great resource, and I highly recommend anybody watch 60 Minutes. We will be on 60 Minutes. That's like bucket list for me. I got to get on 60 Minutes because that's something that I really respect the journalism. But 60 Minutes ran a show, an episode, and they talked about deep fake. So the deep fake thing is crazy because they used Tom Cruise as an example. There was this viral video on TikTok where what they do is this guy, he had like a Tom Cruise lookalike, but then they used AI and they used all of these computer programs to actually put a face on the image. So long story short, they manipulated the sound of his voice. They put the fake face on him, and on the computer, it literally looks just like Tom Cruise. So you might not really see where I'm going with this, but this is extremely dangerous. So then they said how Congress and the FBI and the CIA, they've been talking about this since 2018. They've been having hearings about this and all this, but it's like, China and Russia from political manipulation. But think about how dangerous that is just like in general for like Ian. Somebody could just say Ian said something crazy. And then if you show me a video of Ian saying something crazy, I'm not going to question that it's not him.
Depending on how much Smoothie King I had too.
So, but then it's so
Yeah.
crazy because they interviewed this guy in London. He made a lot of money from crypto, but his next firm that he started was deep fake in the entertainment space. So he's saying like this could potentially change Hollywood, where now you don't actually need real acting because you can just really manipulate it and put whoever's face on it. And it's like instead of Tom Cruise actually going to shoot a movie, you just put his face on it. So now it could be like you could literally make movies with human beings. This is a whole thing with the AI and, Web3 and all this stuff. You could make movies without using humans.
And I'll say this for women too, be very careful because this proliferated a few years ago. I will put less on social media because there's a whole little dark.
Well, pornography is where it started. And it actually, even to this day, that's the biggest people that's getting exploited from it is like Hollywood actresses and famous women who they're taking their face and putting on sex tapes. So this is very interesting because it's like when we talk about AI and we talk about, all of these different things, like and media is very important to us and we're in the media space. So it's like it could potentially be a situation where you don't actually need human beings to say anything. But even deeper than that, you can manipulate it to make it seem like a human is actually saying something that they're not.
Something that they're not.
So like we could just have a conversation with Barack Obama. We don't actually we don't even need to have him do an interview, but we can manipulate it and make it look like him and have his voice and put it out. And now it's like we interview Barack Obama.
So did they talk about the lawsuits that could come with likeness?
So that's a good question. So so they said that it's so new that the laws is all over the place. And the thing about America, like it's really like 50 different countries because all of the states have different, laws. So there was like in New York, they have a law that you can't use an actor's like face for 50 years after he dies. And then in California and Texas, they have a law that you can't use it for political figures that's running for both. But they're like, it's the laws
interesting
all over the place, all over every state is different. Some states there's no laws and it's just a mess right now. So and they said it's only going to continue to get bigger and bigger, and the technology is only going to get more and more refined because people are working on it every single day. So it's actually pretty alarming.
I would imagine a place like California would refine the laws so that they can never be
very fast,
right? Like as soon as they see that this thing is becoming something that is becoming widely popular, they're definitely right just to protect their economy and obviously the actors and actresses. Their own likenesses. I can see people changing it. And I can also see like other states are not even aware that the technology is happening and like you said, have no laws.
But the thing about when they said also is that the people that's actually doing it, they're outworking the politicians or even the government. They're outworking the CIA.
Yeah.
Like, they're actually doing it every single day. The computer, there's a community online that's perfecting it, and they're sharing information and da-da-da-da. So they're like, at a certain point, it doesn't really matter what politicians do, because it's like crypto. After a while, you realize no matter how much regulation, you can't stop it. So it's like, that's why it was like with the CIA when they was having hearings, and one of the senators, I think it was a senator from Nebraska, and he had asked one of the guys, one of the generals, and he was like, what are we doing to protect us? And the general told him, like, we're not really doing anything, and we're far behind, and we're losing ground every day. Because it's like, as the technology gets more and more complicated, it doesn't even matter if you pass a law. If I put a video out that looks just like Ian, I don't know, who knows? It might be him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Who'd say it's not?
There may be a good opportunity for people to be able to verify these videos to see if they're deep fake or authentic. So for those of you looking to build a business, there may be a little opportunity gap coming in, a verification or authentication of videos. I know some of you going to be like, blockchain will fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, have fun. Have fun. But yeah, it's very interesting. And the proliferation of deep fake stuff is going to only increase as more content is needed too. And you know where most of it is going to show up at? Company that's taking apart some other social media companies, TikTok. Watch how much of the deep fake content gets placed on TikTok.
Wasn't that a filter? Right? When I remember they did a filter like that when
baby.
And it switched your face. Like it was doing it for like celebrities, but then it changed you from a man to a woman at one point.
They were taking facial recognition. Yeah, they was taking the facial recognition.
Yeah. And they turned you old, like they aged you.
Yeah, that was just like a filter. But now but Tom Cruise thing is what really put people on a wall, because you should Google it. It looks just like Tom Cruise. Like, you really can't tell. You would not know it's not Tom Cruise. You wouldn't.
Speaking of Mission Impossible, at some point we're gonna have a conversation about TikTok being the Grim Reaper for all social media. But not this week.
Not this week.
Okay.
Speaking of scary information, good folks, I'd like
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Your boy going up. I know they can't stand it.